Hashem's v'say tiftach u'pi hagitza asacha. We're now in the 14th Perek of Shmuel Aleph. This is the longest Perek in the Sefer. And perhaps something very telling we can understand from what happens if we just understand the characters in this Perek. So on the one hand, we have Yonasan. This is the son in Pasuk Aleph, Ben Shaul, the son of Shaul. We got a sense from the last Perek that perhaps they don't exactly see eye to eye under certain circumstances. But this Perek is highlighting that he is the son of Shaul, that there is something that he walks in the ways of Shaul, and we know that Shaul is a real tzaddik. But if we understand the names Yonasan and Shaul, then perhaps we can get a little bit of an indication. Remember, we've said a name is an essence. Yonasan has the word nasan, to give. He gives, and he gives, and he gives, and he gives of himself in relation to the Bnei Israel, especially in this Perek, where he dedicates and just all he does is for the sake of the people. Now, sometimes his name is written without a hey. We're going to see in a short while that his name is written with a hey, to add that his giving is all l'shem shamayim. He's not a vigilante, he's not a zealot, he's not some crazy person that is on a suicide mission. He is doing it l'shem shamayim. Shaul has the name Sha'al, to ask. He continues to ask, misplaced asking, and the asking oftentimes is what really gets him into an issue. He's on Shaul, he's on borrowed time. And so we don't get the effectiveness of Shaul necessarily. We also have a feeling like he's just not as connected to the people in the same way that Yonatan reads the situation. Now, in the positive, it's because he's so holy. He's on a different plane. And so his asking, his borrowing, it's cheshboning something that's very different. So let's see what happens. Now, remember, from the last Perek, it was Yonasan who killed the Nitziv Plishti, and as a result, the people have gone into a massive war, and they are outnumbered significantly. But it's because, right, that was the Nasan, that was what he did. That was his contribution. What did Shaul do? Well, Shaul did not wait the appropriate time. He basically asked, in quotes, the people who let him know whether he wanted them to know or not, is that they were leaving. This is not good. They were afraid. And so he pulled the trigger way too early. And for that, the kingship has been taken from him. He is in a precarious situation. Shmuel left after basically telling him bad news. And here's where we find ourselves. So Yonasan decides, now perhaps he is on the other side of the mountain, so he has no real way to ask Shaul permission, but he decides that he is going to go on a mission. The Aviv lo higid. He doesn't tell his father. Interestingly, Aviv lo higid, he doesn't tell his father. Shouldn't it be saying Aviv lo Sha'al? He didn't ask his father, which highlights the fact that irrespective of whether he had permission from his father, this was something on his own accord once again. We don't know much about Yonasan right now, except to know that he really is taking matters into his own hands. And Shaul is Yoshev, he's sitting B'ktzei Giva. Now, Yoshev could be that he is staying, but if you just contrast one guy who's doing something on a very dangerous mission and the other guy who's sitting, what was he doing? What do people usually do, right? Yaakov, Yoshev Ohalim, perhaps he's learning, he's a tzaddik, he's Tachas Rimon, under a pomegranate tree, and he only has 600 people. He is a holy soul on a holy mission, probably studying holy Torah. Everything is good about him on the one hand. On the other hand, do you see the high level that he's at? He's on a very, very profound religious level. And perhaps when you're a leader, you have to take stock of who the people are that you're leading. As a parent, as an educator, as a friend, you have to see that no two people are on the same level. Perhaps in our own families, right? And what he's doing is he is perhaps, and we'll see in this Perek, he puts that level of where he's up to on the people, and that's a disadvantage to everyone. So what happens in addition to there's Achia, who is the brother of Ikavod. Remember Ikavod, that boy that was born while his mother was in, Eli's daughter-in-law was dying, and they named him Ikavod ben Pinchas ben Eli Cohen, and he has the ephod on him, and no one knows that Yonatan had left. And what's happening is that Yonatan comes to the Plishtim's garrison, and he's sliding on his legs. This is a very, very detailed, very high-level mission. And what happens is he's with his Na'ar, and the Na'ar, and he says to the Na'ar, here's what we're going to do. We're going to see if Hashem wants us to act on his behalf or not. So he says, okay, no problem. Whatever you say, sir. We're in this precarious situation. I can't imagine that he's going to walk down the mountain by himself at this point. So if they say to us, wait until we get you, then we're going to stay where we are. We're not going anywhere. But if they say, come up to us, then we're going to go up. And that's going to be a logical way to understand, because if they're saying come up to us, then really that means that they're afraid to leave their position, which means that they're probably not in the best position, and that's going to be the sign. Now, we know that we're not allowed to have omens and signs and things of that nature, which oftentimes, just as an aside, people go to holy places and get holy brachas just to be careful that they're, that we don't put that in the category of kishuf and all those signs and omens and connotations. We don't believe in black cats or walking under ladders or broken mirrors. None of that is something that we believe in. Now, so why is he able to do a sign of this sort? And the answer really is it's a logical sign. He's really saying things that are logical, such as we know from the Torah that, whoever first comes to give me water, they're going to be good for Yitzchak. Well, whoa, isn't that a sign? No, because whoever comes to give him and his camels water means that they're a good balas chesed, and they're nice people, and that's who we would want for someone for Yitzchak. So this is not an omen of any sort, but this is just a logical deduction in this situation, and that's exactly what happens. And so the men start shouting to Yonatan, and what happens is they say, "Come up, we're going to give you a lesson." And Yonatan says, "Amazing, this is perfect. Hashem is going to give us." Hashem Biad Yisrael, we're going to be victorious. This is amazing. And so he goes up with his just the two of them. This is like such a scary mission, and that's exactly what happened. They fight and they kill 20 people immediately. And remember, he's the only guy in the land besides Shaul who has a weapon, so he's got one weapon. I can't imagine that his Nosei Caleb, the guy's carrying that many weapons for him, but it causes a terror. Which again, all of these are supernatural. There's no way that this wasn't Yad Hashem, and Vatihi Chardat Elokim. Right, there's an earthquake, and everyone is scared because of what Hashem does. And Shaul sees, oh my goodness, there's something going on there, and that the Plishtim are scattering in all different directions, and he's like, okay, which one of us? Pikdu nav mi halach imanu. There's got to be this. Who caused this? And v'hinei ein Yonatan benosei Caleb. Yonatan and his arms bearer aren't there. He has no idea that it was his own son who put forth this on this mission. And what does Shaul do in the moment? Now, there are no moments, right? This is a time for perhaps active combat. There's this is a military move. There is confusion among the enemy. So now you go out to fight. But what does he do? Higher level Shaul, he decides, you know what? bring me the Aron, meaning bring me the Urim and Tumim. And because the Aron, the Urim and Tumim was there for him, lo and behold, he tries to do that. And it starts to become even more of a craziness in the Plishtim camp. And so that's it. Like there's no time. And perhaps this is a mita keneged mita. Hashem said, you should have waited and you should have been patient. And you messed up your time. So now look, you needed me in my time. Oh, lo and behold, there is no time. There's this element of timing that just doesn't seem to be in Shaul's favor. And maybe that's part of his punishment, or maybe that's part, we see and we highlight that Shaul's a good guy. He does what a good leader does. He seeks out the Urim and Tumim, but it's just, everything just doesn't seem to be, it's not mazeldik, it doesn't seem to be working in his favor. And it seems to be, again, on a very high level. And so, Vayiza'ek Shaul b'chol ha'am, he assembles all the troops, and they go out to war, and they are in this very confusion, and this is amazing. And the Jews Ivrim that were with the Plishtim, some of them not out of their own volition, some of them because they were fair weather friends, people that left to go to the other side of the Yarden. They came back. The people came back who had originally crossed over sides, and what you're seeing is that there are a lot of Jews that are all bonding together. And the people that were hiding in the hills of Ephraim come. Everyone hears that the Plishtim are fleeing, and they start to cling. They start to unite together. And what happens when Jews unite together? When we care about one another, ish echad b'lev echad, when we're all together as one, we get the most amazing result. Vayosha Hashem bayomahu es Israel. Hashem, the same exact wording that happened with Kriyas Yamsuf. We just finished Pesach. We just finished having Kriyas Yamsuf. We just finished having this right before we have Az Yashir, right before the water split. We have in davening, Vayosha Hashem bayomahu es Israel. Hashem brings a victory. That's what happens when the Jews come together. When we care about each other, miracles happen, and that's exactly what happens. And it's amazing, and they are victorious. And it is an amazing victory. And that victory, then what happens is that Shaul, right when there's a victory, so what does he do? He takes it to the nth degree. He's too holy in this moment, and he says, Arur ha'ish asher yochal lechem ad ha'erev. Cursed be the person who eats until nightfall. V'nikamti ma'oivai v'lo ta'am kol ha'am lechem. And so nobody eats. Now, what is he trying to do? Perhaps he's trying to say, you know what, we are so holy, we just had a miracle, we are going to fast, we are like malachim, we are like angels, we are going to do tshuva, we are going to stay on this level, we just have Hashem is going to showcase himself, this is amazing. And he had all these great ideas. That is way, way beyond what the people are. They are just seeing the light, they just came back, they're helping one another, but no one said that they're, on these holy levels. And they're also hungry. You're in the middle of a war. You can't, in the middle of a war, decide to turn into angels. It just doesn't seem like that's the right way to do, but they're going to follow their leader because that's what they do. They just want to follow a leader. They asked for a leader to begin with. They're following the leader, but oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And so they come to a forest, and there is dvash, there's something sweet. Remember, it's Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash. It's a place of everything is sweet. Enjoy the victory. Enjoy is what, perhaps is being highlighted. Don't abstain. There are times in life where you're supposed to be holier, and there are times in life where you're supposed to be happy. And Vayhi dvash al pnei hasadeh, there is honey. And so what happens? Well, no one's eating it. They're all afraid. No one's enjoying. No one's, kind of shepping nachas. But Yonatan comes. He had no idea what happens, and he eats from the honey. He wants to enjoy. He wants to be besimcha. There's time of simcha now, and the people are like, oh my gosh. His eyes light up. He's happy. He's besimcha. He's invigorated. He's going to start dancing. He's going to get shep the nachas. He wants a little kiddush. Things are good. Times are good. This is not the time for Yom Kippur. This is the time for Yom Tiv. And one of the soldiers says, oh gosh, your father just cursed whoever it is who eats. Like that wasn't good. Now, the lashon of the pasuk is vayitam. He tasted it. It wasn't that he necessarily ate it. So perhaps he didn't do exactly what he wasn't allowed to do. But he, this is not exactly. And he's like, what? My father has brought trouble for the people. Look. Aru ainai, look what happens. Runa, like, see what happened to me. Ki ta'amti, I tasted it. Just a little bit. Kev, a little bit besimcha. He's a tala, he's a tzaddik gamor. Like this, we're not on this level. We want to enjoy it. We have it like a shmak. And unfortunately, the people, and if we would have, that we could even be more, that's how we could serve Hashem. It would have been even greater still. Like, there's more to do. There's more nisim and happiness and good things to happen. Let's live our lives to Hashem b'simcha. Anyway, they continue to do more, and they strike down more plishtim, and they're really hungry. They need invigoration. They're tired. And what happens is that they start and they take the spoils, and they take the sheep and the cows and the calves, and they slaughter them on the ground. And what happens? Vayochal ha'am al hadam, and the troops eat with blood. What? So either that they didn't sacrifice to Hashem first, or they actually ate a mother and a child on the same day. And it was told to Shaul, because look what happens. You can't pretend to be somebody that you're not. You can't walk on that high level and think that it's sustainable. It's not. So it was told to Shaul that the people are eating lochal al hadam, and he said, oh my gosh, you can't do that. This is not good. And he says, everybody has to bring to me his ox, his sheep. And I'm gonna do a korban here. You can't sin to Hashem. You can't eat with the blood. And so that's what everyone does. And he takes responsibility. He's such a good person. He's taking responsibility. He just wants the people to be good. But again, it's very high level. Vayiven shel mizbeach Hashem. So that's what he does. He builds a mizbeach to Hashem. And that was the first one that he ever built to Hashem. And he says, okay, so now we're going to go after the plishtim, and we're going to continue, and we're going to make sure that they do. But this time, the people say, okay, sure, whatever you want. But the Kohen says, okay, why don't we ask Hashem? So Shaul has the time, and he asks Hashem, okay, so should we go now against the plishtim? And Hashem, you're going to give it in our hands. Below anahu bayomahu. Hashem doesn't respond. So some say that Hashem didn't respond. It was dark. Some say that the one of the Urim and Tumim that stayed dark was from Binyamin. So he sees that something is wrong. And so he says, what? Huh? Okay, so now we have to see, there must be someone who's guilty. He's all a holy guy. He's thinking only holy thoughts. He's thinking, okay, so there's a blemish among us. There's something that's holy. He's not thinking that there's not a good strategic move. He only thinks along the lines of, wow, we've got to have, there's something else that I'm missing, and I'm sure it's in the holy vein. And so that's what happens. He realizes that it must have been someone, and they realizes that it's Yonatan. And they say, he's going to have to be put to death. Now, the people say to no one's answering him. No one agrees with what's happening, and no one is ultimately. When the Urim and Tumim show that it was Yonatan, this is something that is really, really horrible for Shaul. And Hagita limasita, what did you do? He says to Shaul. Vayagelo Yonatan, vayomer ta'om ta'amti. I tasted. I didn't eat. Remember, I just tasted a little bit of the honey. And now I'm ready to die. He's always ready. Again, he's Yonatan. He's always ready to give of himself. But that is something that Shaul says, you're going to be put to death. But the people don't allow it. They won't do it. They support him, and they will not put him to death because they feel like he saved everybody. It was his victory, and so they save him. Now, this does remind us of a time where they were maftir the neder. So they take away the neder. There's no more. He has to do. Probably give a korban and this neder. They were maftir the neder that is no longer. And perhaps that would have worked out in Yiftach's favor, but that was a different kind of situation because it was as a result of his promise that they won the war, so to speak. That was all in the condition. Here there were no conditions. Here this was afterwards, so it's a very different experience. But ultimately they don't let him die. He doesn't die. And Vayal Shaul Machrei Plishtim and Plishtim Hachlu Kamam. So Shaul goes up in pursuit of the Plishtim. The Plishtim go to their homes, and now Shaul really has a strong kingship. Now, what's happened is that he has a strong kingship. He's now fights against Moab and Ammon and Edom, and Plishtim are always going to be annoying. They are just one of those people, as we know in current times, that just can't we can't completely get rid of them. But what's interesting is that wherever he does, he takes over the people and he plunders it, and we're going to see what's going to ultimately happen. But that's what he is in a political sense. In his home life, while he has Yonatan, he also has other children. He has Yishvi, Malkishua. He has 2 daughters, Meirav and Michal. He's a family man. He also has a family, and his family is growing. And so this is kind of the golden age of Shaul. He's doing well. He has a big family. He has a wife, Achinoam, and he has an army leader, Avner ben Ner, who is his relative. So the nuclear family is something that's very, very close, and related. They're all related. Avner ben Ner is related to Kish, and so on the one hand we have there was some disconnect between him and his son. On the other hand, he has a strong family life, and his family is very strong. But then, right at the end, the last pasuk perhaps highlights what we know, what we've learned about Shaul, that wherever Shaul went, Kol ish gibor, anyone who showed potential, v'chol ben chayil, and anyone who was very strong, v'yasifu alav, he took him into the war, into his service, into his army. That there's still this very high level. Shaul is, we said, head and shoulders above the rest, but he just doesn't see the level where people are. So he drafts anyone who's on a good level. He takes them up onto his level with him. We didn't mention, but just to highlight that several times in this Perek, Yonatan is mentioned Yehonasan, and that that keeps on going back and forth to highlight the strength of who Yonatan really was. But overall, what we have from this Perek, this very long Perek, is the idea that you really have to see people for where they're up to. Timing really is important, but so is just. You have to know your audience. You have to see them. You have to know them. You have to be with them. We see that things are l'shem shamayim, but Hashem keeps on highlighting that it's l'shem shamayim, but not for all of us. We don't have to be vigilantes. We don't have to do crazy things. We just have to read the situation. Patience and timing is still highlighted because of how important it is that we have patience, that we realize. And most beautifully is Vayosha Hashem Bayomahu, that the Bnei Yisrael were successful because Hashem saw that they were coming together, Kalev Echad, all together. And when that happens, major miracles happen as well.